Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new series. This series will be named Slayer Talks. Obviously, this has to do with more of me chilling, kind of speaking about different topics and so on and so forth. And today, this is the first episode, by the way. I wanted to discuss about something that has unfortunately helped me out a bunch, but has also kind of destroyed the enjoyment, out of the game, which is what you're seeing on screen, Dead by Daylight. And I think obviously, since you've already clearly read the title, this has to do about with MMR. Now, MMR, we'll have to talk about it, right? So, what is MMR to begin with? It stands for MMR. Is like a system that sort of matches you with like the same level of kind of matches you with the same level of like in terms of quote unquote skill, and with like an equal amount of skill. Like you and your opponent are supposed to have like the same amount of skill, quote unquote, right? That's in a very hypothetical world, where MMR is like perfect in any game, not just DBD, but I feel DBD specifically fails it harder than any other game. For example, Rainbow Six Siege is like a game I play, and they do a very good job at it. Because the higher your MMR in that game, right? You the higher, obviously, in competitive, just competitive, that is, because there is like a competitive and a non-competitive game mode, in that game. If you play competitive enough and you climb up the ranks, and you increase your MMR there, you see that your opponents get better with things such as their aim, their positioning, pixel picking, taking right gunfights, positioning their setups better, especially if you're a defender, you usually kind of tend to you know kind of make your own game in a sense, in the terms of, oh, I don't need to go by the meta. I can always just switch something up, just make small, minor adjustments, and those always kind of threw players off, and that was the reason why I kind of climbed up the ranks when I played, Siege for well, too long at some point in my life. I think I've reached like, I was like very close to reaching Platinum 2 on PC, mind you, because there is a console and PC difference there, obviously. And I believe I was very close to reaching like Platinum 2, and that was before the game got its like an extra rank increase. So it was like Platinum 1 and then Diamond. Let's say it's like you'd reached it. It's like I was like top 10%, quote unquote, you know. And what was very interesting about that game is always like like the MMR system was technically built around it. Like when I played that game, I felt like, what, it kind of makes sense, because like I saw the MMR increase and I saw the players getting better, and I saw the MMR decrease and I saw the players getting worse. However, with DBD, this kind of fails in its own way, and I'm gonna explain it why. I'm gonna try to be a little bit subjective here because I do have I do have a bit of bias, in terms of these two games, because I really like them both, right? So I'm going to try to be a little bit objective in terms of what I speak about. And let's start off with MMR, right? So how do you increase your MMR level? Okay, so very clearly, in order to increase your MMR level, you need to win a game, win a match, and that obviously increases your MMR. Should you obviously lose it on the other side, should you lose a game or have a poor performance, your MMR will decrease, right? But what's very interesting and very specific to DBD is how. Like, for example, what is a win in DBD and what is a loss in DBD? Because the game technically does give you like an objective. Like, as a survivor, you gotta escape, and as a killer, you gotta not let them escape. It's a very simple objective, quote unquote, that you have, but the game doesn't really, like, it says escaped, and it's not really like, it doesn't really tell you you've won, or if you get like 4 kills, doesn't tell you like you've won, congratulations, right? And since there's not an official, at least by the devs themselves, like there's not an official, like they've stated that, what, we don't like having that, because if we did, then players might get frustrated. For example, you can have a fun game where you enjoyed your time and still had like a 1k, as a killer, right? And you could definitely get like a 3 or 4K and have a miserable time, right? But in whose standards, would that count as a win, right? Because if you're saying, you know what, I want to have all, you know, I want to get 4Ks every time, and I count that as a win. Well, does the game count that as a win? It's like, what's the criteria for the MMR to progress you to the higher ranks, right? Because it's not like the MMR has been like for a couple of months. It's been like, I think, like, what is it, 2, 3 years or something like that. It's like an insane amount of time. And granted, it has become much better from the games that we played before. And I have noticed, which is, I want to give it its credit. I have noticed that I'm getting more consistent matches, right? Like, it's not gonna be always like I'm not gonna get as much of that. Like, for example, as you see here with North, like, you can definitely point out things I'm doing bad and so on, like, and whatnot. Like, I'm not like perfect, right? But like, I have games where, you know, before the MMR, where I'd say, well, this is like, this game was like mega hard, right? So what I'm trying to get at is, like, it does do its job to a certain degree, and I feel like this is where it's the turning point, right? Because if you really think about it, right, and put it in hindsight, like, the game doesn't give you a winning condition, so you don't know what the winning condition that the devs count, because they didn't, give us any clues, and that's obviously for a very specific reason. They've stated that they don't want people to try to sort of, cheat, I guess, their way into it. Like, oh, let's say that I just have to do gents, and the game progresses that, then, like, they wouldn't, like, do any saves, or they just hide the game and then just spam out gents and then, climb up the ranks that way. And they did want to do that, which is a very smart move, and obviously I'm not, criticizing them on that. But since we don't know what the win condition is, how can there be an MMR? I hope what I'm trying to say here kind of makes sense, because I guess the best way that I can say it is, like, okay, I'm a new player. I got DBD maybe for free. Maybe I got it when it was for free on the Epic Game Store, like I did here from the footage you're seeing. Because prior to that, I had it on, like, the PS4, and I want to transition to PC, but I wasn't, I didn't want to pay. So maybe you're one of those people, right? Or maybe you're just a brand new player. Maybe you bought it on console. You say, you know what? Let's say there was a discount. You got the game. Now you're starting playing it, right? And obviously you're getting better as time goes on. You learn how to loop a little bit more effectively, right? You kind of you time your save. Like, you can actually start getting maybe flashlight saves. You can make better calls, especially on demand, mind you, right? But the game, let's say, says, well, you didn't do enough objectives, so that doesn't count as a win. What? That's what I'm like. That's what I'm trying to say is, we don't know the conditions of it, so we don't know what we should approve upon. Because there was a time where, obviously, what you're seeing here would be like, because I took a break from the game prior to coming back and kind of playing and enjoying it once more. And when I did take my time off, just prior to taking my time off, I would just play nurse all day. I was a nurse main. I'm still a nurse main, by the way. I haven't changed that at all. And because I would frequently play nurse, and obviously we know that from the survivor and the killer, the MMR differences, right? For example, if you play one character more, right, you're gonna have a higher MMR on them. So my MMR for trapper, let's say, would be much lower than my than my MMR for nurse, because I played nurse a lot more and I got a lot more wins with nurse. And as a result of that, I should be getting better survivors. Yes, that is absolutely 100% right. And here, officially, after nearly 10 minutes of talking, this is now the official part that I was waiting to tell the entire time. And this was the thing that burned me out of the game. This was the thing that took out all the fun. Right? This was the thing. Okay? As I got better with nurse, I was getting better survivors. Right? And I was getting better and better and better and better and better and better, that at some point my games, this is not a good representation of what I mean, right? Because I've kind of, chilled out a bit more. I haven't played in a long time, so I'll kind of come back to it, right? I'll have a game where the full match from I'm talking, obviously no loading screens, included. I'm talking from, like, the beginning to the end. It would be at most a 5-minute game. I'll be getting that consistently for like 2 months before I said, F this. and because I didn't want it anymore. Because it's like, okay, I made a mistake. Okay, that's boom. That's 3 gens gone, and that didn't really, I didn't really resonate with that because I felt like I got punished for making a single mistake. Obviously, you should get punished for making mistakes and whatnot, regardless of the game. Obviously, needless to say, right? It's a competitive game where there's a player versus player, aka the term PvP. You should absolutely get punished, but losing an entire game, or at least in DBD's terms, losing like 3 gens because I made one mistake and now the chase got extended by like 30 seconds because I had to recharge both of my blinks because I didn't use any add-ons, right? Because I was like, they were kind of BS, even though I kind of miss them now, but at the time they were BS, right? And it's like, okay, well, now I don't have that, so it's like, now I'm gonna have to wait and then blink and then get them, and by the time it's like, that's like half a gen times 3 because 3 different survivors will be working on 3 different gens, and Dead Hard didn't help at the time. Now, obviously, thank God, Dead Hard is now changed. It's become a much better perk, a less BS perk, to be honest with you. But at the time, I really felt like, wow, I have to literally sweat my balls off every game, every game, every game. That was, by the way, that was an accidental click. That wasn't a teabag. But I have to sweat every game, and if it's like, okay, well, then don't play nurse. It's like, well, I don't enjoy anybody else, because as you can see, as you can clearly see here, right? Because like you saw my nurse game, right? And obviously, I'd say that nurse game of like in terms of my own personal performance, I'd say that was kind of mid. For me, for my standards, like after coming back, I'd say that was a mediocre performance by me. I wouldn't say it was bad because I still have decent blinks and so on and so forth from the game that you just watched as nurse, but you can see from your screen, like I didn't want this, right? I don't want to be limited to say, okay, I'm going to try to make them have a mistake, make a mistake, and I'm going to try to capitalize on it. And I know that's kind of what DBD is. I'm not, trying to deny it in any sense, but it's very funny how when, Nurse has to make a mistake, or Spirit has to make a mistake, or Blight has to make a mistake, yeah, for the survivor to capitalize on their mistake, it's like, oh, it's not fun, it's stupid. But on the other killers, when the survivor has to make a mistake, it's like, nah, you're just bad. Like, you kind of get that from time to time, and obviously, I'm not trying to, complain about something like this. Even I enjoyed having the challenge here that I did. Obviously, I could have made, because I know I'm going to tell you right now the outcome. I had 1 kill and like 9 hooks. Right, I could have easily tunneled someone out of the game, so on and so forth, because I made mistakes as well. But I hope my point could come across to you guys and kind of resonate with what I'm trying to say and how I felt, right? Because with the MMR system, like it's like, okay, well, I like playing a couple of killers, right? For example, personally for me, the killers I really like playing are Huntress, Nurse. Obviously, she's my main. Needless to say, you know what I mean. I can enjoy Wraith from time to time. Spirit is a pretty decent one, and I'd say I'm trying to learn Blight, right? Because I'm trying to learn the better killers, because I really do enjoy performing very well in the game. But I feel like the more I improve, and obviously I'm not trying to say that I shouldn't face better opponents, right? I should, as I become a better player, I should face better opponents. But I feel like I want it to be a cap, I guess, into how well that kind of happens, because I don't want to be, like, oh, let's just say I came back from work or whatever. It's like, okay, well, I just want to jump in, play a couple of games, but it's like, oh, okay, I've been performing really, really well. Maybe I had like a break or something. I have been performing really, really well, and now I have to, face up like so much harder survivors. And it's like, well, technically, if you lose, it will go back down again. It's like, well, do I really have to just go play 3-4 games, lose 3-4 games, and then say, okay, now I can kind of get back at it again? I hope what I'm trying to say makes sense, and I hope you guys can understand it too. Obviously, from the survivor point of view, right? Because I'm a killer main. I play Survivor 2 a lot. I kind of enjoy it, and I could say the biggest improvement in the MMR was through the survivor side, because just like you guys have played, I obviously disliked, which is like a very, I guess, good word to say. I disliked when, because I really reality I hate it when, I'd run a killer for like 3 minutes and all I'll get is like half a gen down because the survivor's just crouching on corners. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this like, okay, as a survivor, I'm happy that I'm getting better teammates, but I'm saying as killer, I disliked the rate of in which I got better and better and better survivors. And at some point, like I wanted it to stop because obviously, I'm not trying to be in the top 0.01 MMR, thing, but I really do enjoy stomping as nurse. And it was the reason why I mained her. And it's like, okay, well, obviously I should have better survivors. I'm not trying to deny that. I should definitely be facing better survivors, but what I should also is not feel like I'm in a competitive game about, with 5 minute games. I hope, what I'm saying here kind of makes it justice. I hope, you guys can understand what I'm saying, kind of relate and say, yeah, you know what, he's kind of right. I kind of get what he's saying. Obviously, if you're performing really well, at some point you're like, you know what, I don't want to be playing what feels like competitive level, games at that point, because I'm pretty sure I had reached a very, very high state, which I hope I won't reach ever again. Because that's kind of what threw me off. Because like I'll play nurse, and it's like I'll get these super duper sweaty teams. It's like, obviously I'd see like 2 3 brand new parts nearly every game, and obviously at that point it was around the time where DS Dead Hard, DS this Unbreakable, Dead Hard, Borrowed Time were like the meta, and I'm obviously not trying to disregard that meta because obviously it was a very powerful meta. I can't judge anyone for using something and saying they want to win because I wanted to win too, but it really felt, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to play a game. I'm going to do really well. I'm going to have like 3 minutes to do that game, that entire game. And it doesn't really matter what I do because they'll just get off again. I let them on the ground, they're gone. I pick them up, they're gone. And that was at the time also where DS was like 5 seconds. So it was kind of different from what it is now. And it was prior to its nerf. And at that time, it was like where I would get progressively better, and better survivors. And then I switched from that game. I'll go from killer to survivor, or I'd switch from like let's say nurse into maybe peg as you're seeing on the screen, or maybe something like wraith or any other killer really. And then it's like, wow, the games are like ridiculously easy. Like I don't like I wouldn't bring any perks. I would still like stomp. Like easily. It is like, well, now this brings off a very off balance, off putting gameplay of like, okay, well, do I want super ridiculous survivors when I'm playing like nurse, and it's like every mistake really does count, it really does hurt, and it's not really that enjoyable because I don't want to have 5 minute games. And obviously at that time I was playing on PS4 too, so on the PS4 console, you were kind of limited to what you could do as much as nurse, and that was obviously when crossplay was on. So PS4 nurse against PC survivors, really sweating with the 2 3 brand new parts and the decisive unbreakable Dead Hard Borrowed Time builds and like an insta heal or something like that. You kind of get what I'm saying here. And it's like, do I want that, or do I want to go on like the baby Nia that's like that throws every pallet without looking behind her? I felt like I was like being essentially like cheesed out of it. It's like, well, I know how to play them because I know how to play these characters because I've been playing these characters for like, at that point, because I started playing DBD all the way back in like July of 2018 when it came out for free on PS Plus on the PlayStation Store. So I got the game for free and I got hooked on it. That's just what happened, And I grinded it out. And obviously, before I learned Nurse, I play obviously all the regular killers because I felt like I couldn't play Nurse, mainly because especially at the start, like 2018, Nurse was like 10 frames a second. So I don't need to explain why that wasn't really a thing at that time. And so I kind of focused on more like other killers, like more Spirit, more at the time Huntress. Billy became my first main, right? And then when I learned Nurse and I played her and all that, and so on and so forth, and because I really played Nurse, I think I played like Nurse like for 2 months straight. I didn't play any other character because I said, you know what, enough is enough. Billy's just not cutting it for me. I want to change. I want to have a better character. It's like, okay, well, I want to have a better character. who's a better character than Billy? And at the time, we had Spirit, obviously, and I'd play Spirit, and I kind of, and I had, Spirit wasn't really that complicated, right? Especially at the time where Strider was a thing. So it's just okay, I'll just put Strider and just go ahead. That was very simple, right? Just put like duration and recharge. Oh, I guess duration and recharge were like the thing. Duration and charge activation. Alright, so I'll activate my power really quickly, and I'll move for a long time, and that would be it. And you know, uh, and I was like, okay, well, I don't. I mean, I've learned that already. I want something stronger, right? And I couldn't obviously bring Iridescent Head Huntress every game because like I said before, I really enjoyed that like I got 3 survivors and then one will escape through the hatch. I still do. This is still like my winning condition, right? Because everyone has to have their own condition. Kind of circling back to the entire subject I was talking about. But needless to say, I was like, okay, so I want something bigger. I want something better. That's what she said. And it's like, okay, well, let's learn Nurse. Game was kind of stable at that time. Obviously, I was playing on the PS4, like I said, once more. Game was stable. Right? I get very limited frame drops. And super rare screen freezes, right? Which were much more, common, back in the day. So it's like, okay, well, I kind of learned that. Obviously, it's not mouse and keyboard quality, right? Needless to say. But I become really accustomed to, obviously, the thumbsticks, because I hadn't really had like a proper PC at the time. It was kind of when I was like getting into PC gaming. So I played my entire life with a controller. So it was nothing, in terms of like handling it. I got pretty used to it. And then I played like a month straight Nurse. I'm talking straight Nurse, only Nurse, nothing else. I'm talking literally nothing else, just Nurse. I played her for so long. I think I had one in that first month of playing. I think I had won 2 games as Nurse. All of the other games, and I'd be playing at least like 6, 7, 8 games of Nurse a day, right? So out of 31 days, I only got like 2 wins before I started learning her. And on the second month, I'd say, and on the second month, the second month, I'd say the first 2 weeks of the second month is where I started really getting good at her. And I'd say the other 2 months were like my quote unquote mastery of her, right? Because I know how the Nurse works now. I know how she works nearly flawlessly, right? Now, obviously, I kind of need to be playing more and just have DBD more into my head space, and I think I can climb back up there again. But at the time, it was like, okay, I was kind of on my prime, right? Because I was playing DBD every day, and because I'd just be going to school at that time. So I'll come back from school, I'll play DBD, and I'll call that a day. And as I played Nurse more and more and more, I was really climbing up, really, 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 really climbing up. I think I had won like nearly 20 games in a row, and it's like, okay, well, obviously after winning 20 games in a row, you should definitely get better survivors, and as I did, as I kept like playing and playing and playing and playing and winning and winning and winning and winning, I got to that point of like, okay, I have 5 minutes to do the entire game. This is not fun anymore. I lost it. Like the entire process of learning Nurse. I'm talking. I won 2 games in a whole month. I'm not joking when I'm saying this. Okay, I'm not joking. 2 wins in a whole month, and then another month of like 3 out of 4 games would be my Nurse games, and then that's so kind of like, it's like once I learned her and I understood her and I was doing good with her, I was happy. I was like, okay, well, she's my main. Obviously, like I'm a Nurse main, so I kind of wanted to play other killers, kind of have fun. And I play Nurse, and it's like, well, now I just have 5 minutes. That's it. Dare I, do anything? It will be like, okay, well, now we have brand new parts. Now, obviously, nerfed versions, especially from those, when the game launched. I'm sure some of you guys know how broken, the game was when it launched. But I don't know, man. After playing, the fun got ruined for me because I'd either get ridiculously, stupidly hard games, in my personal opinion, right? Obviously, there were way better nurses than me, because I'll never be the best nurse there is, right? I'm always trying to learn and improve. But I felt like I was like getting this like really high end games, and I would switch like Billy, and it's like, well, now I'm getting potatoes that barely know how to hold a gen because I play Billy like twice a month, but my knowledge of the game is clearly still there. But because I wasn't playing as much, I wasn't really getting progressing into that department. So I'd get really, really high or really, really low tier, survivors in terms of like quote unquote skill or whatever, however DBD, kind of measures that. And and then I'll go play Survivor. And Survivor I'd say was actually pretty dope. Survivor is like the time where I say, yeah, you know what, it was actually kind of decent. Like I was actually not like I got as I progressed and played more and kind of got better at Survivor. I was also getting better survivors and better killers. So it's like, you know what, I'm fully fine with that. I really enjoyed my time as Survivor, but as killer, as a nurse specifically, it was the most unfun. I don't want to say unplayable, right? But you can imagine, if you really stressing out and straining really really hard for a game that's it's only trying to make it worse. By the way, I thought Kay was like the killer there, like what? But as you can understand, it's like, okay, when you're doing that every day, because it's like, because I had a point where I had lost like 2-3 matches in a row, and then I'll get suspiciously easy survivors. It's like, damn, it's like, is there like a multiplier, like a multiplier for losses? Like, okay, you lost one game, but now the second game, so you lose a little bit more MMR because it's 2 in a row. It's like 3 in a row or like 4 in a row. Because I lost, there were times where I lose like 3 or 4 games in a row. It's like, okay, well, and then I'll get suspiciously easy, and I'll be stomping again. And obviously these survivors were actually like, I would say like, when I'm saying I'm stomping, I'd say like I have like 30-second chases, and gen would still be getting done, but not to the rate that they would be getting done before, right? Because obviously I had 30-second chases when I began, and when I was at my quote unquote peak, I have 30-second chases, but gens were still flying, and I have two people hooked. I'll chase the third one, and I'll still hear a gen. And I was like, what is that person doing? Like, they're really doing a gen before saving their friends. And then obviously one of them would like deliverance away, and then the other one gets saved. So I was like, damn. I had 3 people immobilized, and that last person still did a gen just so they can progress. Like, damn, they really did that. And then I'd get like, okay, well, now if it's 30-second chases, they've barely done like a gen, and now it's like the second one's like 25% progress, and they're like 2 of them are like dead on hook. So you kind of see where I'm going with this. I was very like, wow, this is stupid, and that's kind of when I left. And obviously as it came back to, the game launched, or at least I started playing it on Epic Games, which is where you guys are seeing it right now. Kind of after like talking like 6-7 months of not playing it, it's like I come back and it's like, oh, okay, it's kind of fun again. But I just hope that, because I'd still see massive difference. Like, for example, obviously because I play Huntress and Nurse a lot, so it's like I still see a big difference. Like, my Wraith games are like easy compared to my Nurse games. They're nothing. It's like, well, I'm playing a significantly weaker character, but MMR, so I think the issue is still there. I just haven't, because obviously they're different accounts, right? So my PS4 account and my Epic Games account are different because we can't have linked accounts, because that's not a thing. It's like with Google Stadia. I wonder if anyone plays that again anymore. But that's kind of my opinion, and I hope you guys can understand. I hope you guys can agree. I hope we can have a civil discussion, because I know anything DBD related is kind of suspicious. I guess is the word, to put out, or enraging. I guess is an even better term. Because obviously, you may say, well, I just get better, lol. It's like, well, I guess that's technically a valid argument, and obviously, you know, one may think is like, oh, you're saying this just so everything can get nerfed. It's like, no, I don't want to see my, uh, you know, nerfed, but what's gotta happen's gotta happen. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Uh, I'll try to do more of these, especially DBD related. But for now, that's it. Take care. I'll come back with more of these sooner or later. Peace.